Hello and welcome back to the OnlyAccies podcast. It has been a fair while since we've done one of these. We took the summer off at the end of last season. We, of course, got relegated. We did do a short reaction video, Brandon and myself, about that. We don't want to touch on that too much. We would like to look ahead to next season. We do feel we need to talk about it a little bit. I suppose my kind of feelings off the bat is we deserved it last season. I don't think anybody can doubt that. The squad wasn't good enough. Brian Rice wasn't good enough. The players weren't good enough, and we deservedly got relegated. There was a little point at the end of the season where I was optimistic, and I thought we put up the whole thing. It's not over yet, and it's just a shame that it's happened. We weren't even in the ground to give them a boost or to let our feelings be known. Hopefully that will change this season with fans coming back. David, I'll go to you first. What were your thoughts about relegation last season? Was it expected? What were you thinking?
I don't know if it was expected at first, because you always seem to have that faith that we're going to survive. And then, like I say, that was probably one of the first seasons the pundits weren't kind of completely writing us off. They were giving us the benefit of the doubt. Definitely deserved, like you say. We just weren't good enough. And once the kind of dust settled for me personally and it sunk in, I don't know if I'm using the right word for it, but it was almost welcomed, because I've said a couple of times on this podcast that I felt like the best way to describe it was we weren't making the most of the opportunity in the Premiership, like teams like Livingston are doing, and try to progress and go forward, like St Johnstone have done and got cup success on the back of it and things like that. So I felt like it was needed now that it's actually happened. It's a chance to kind of bring through other guys, maybe adopt a new style of play, and I think it's a good opportunity for the fans to fall in love with the Accies again, because I think I can speak for a lot of people saying it was getting really tough to view over the last few seasons especially. So actually maybe competing a bit more and getting some better results, it's definitely going to be welcomed. But obviously I was sad, of course.
Yeah. I mean, we all want to be playing in the top flight, obviously. But, I mean, I can't lie when I say that I'm excited for next season. I am. I'm excited for us to go into a lot of games as favourites. David, as you touched on, I'm excited for us to hopefully be more attacking, depends what Brian Rice decides to do. There are a lot of things to be excited about next season, Brandon, how about you? What were your kind of thoughts after relegation? How are you feeling now that you've had time to digest it?
No, well, Scotland didn't really help it over the summer. But as you both said, it was well deserved. Probably about time we went down. It took a pandemic and no fans to be there to relegate us, you could say. But no, we were absolutely terrible. Worst season we've been in. We couldn't even get to the games, and it was a hard watch, both on and off the park. But it was deserved. It's not been the prettiest of 7 years. There's been times where it's been brilliant. Majority of the time it's been poor. So hopefully, as we keep saying, this is a new chapter, new era. It's something that we've not experienced in a long period of time. Going into games where we should be the favourites, going into games where we should be in the front foot. Our players are should be getting more time in the ball, more opportunity to express themselves, and the famous youth are going to get more of a chance and a platform to play at a lower level, which hopefully we'll hopefully be able to enhance their sort of. If you get what I mean.
I mean, it's something, David, you've touched on this in a previous podcast before about players coming through and not being able to develop at that lower level, like the likes of Ali Crawford or Ziggy Gordon. And this is a good opportunity for the kind of new batch to follow that lead, take this opportunity in the lower division to develop, get a place in the first team,
Yeah, totally. I've said that a few times. When you look at the likes, when we were last promoted, we had guys like Ali Crawford in the first team, Mikey Devlin being a huge influence, and then you had even guys on the fringes like Greg Docherty. These guys already had, even adding Grant Gillespie, these guys had well over 100 appearances. Majority of them coming into that season in the Premiership, whereas guys like Jamie Hamilton is probably a perfect example who, don't get me wrong, is a very promising player, and last season especially played really well. But obviously the season before, with the kind of numerous red cards, it was a big concern to the fans that he was just kind of thrown in at the deep end and left to dry.
Baptism of fire, absolutely.
Exactly, best way to put it. Whereas now, I mean, this is the optimism in my head that you should expect guys that maybe we don't have too much optimism towards, like your Ronan Hughes, even Ben Sterling, guys like that. At a lower level, they should be adapting a lot better and actually putting better performances on and maybe cement themselves a bit better. Whereas, I mean, like I say, it's, without making up excuses for them, but it can't be easy to be thrown into a team like Hamilton in the Premiership for your first few seasons in senior football. So, like I say, I've got a lot of optimism for a lot of players this season, and hopefully the lower level will do them wonders. But it's not going to be the case for everyone, let's admit it.
No, not at all. Accies, we've been quiet over the summer, but Accies have been busy. We've got a few signings in through the door. Still not finished yet. And let's hope they're not finished yet anyway, because the squad's still very thin. First player we brought in was Matthew Shields from Rangers, a player who I'm happy to hold my hands up and say I'd never heard of before. Youth player, very little experience. Biggest thing was he was on loan to Clyde, and he got a big injury, and that cut his season short. He'd only just started training again after like 6 months out with that injury, so whether he'll play a part, who knows, to be honest. However, the next signing, Brandon, I'll let you take this one, was somebody you rallied for, and were gutted that we were apparently losing out to Kelly. Didn't happen, but we did manage to sign Kieran McDonald on a 2-year deal.
I know that one sort of added a good couple of weeks over the summer. If I'm being honest, that was a bit of a roller coaster. If you were keeping up to date with it, Kieran was obviously just having the Kilmarnock fans in strings with some of the tweets he was liking and some of the things he was saying, which was quite funny. I know one of my good friends, David McFarlane, is a massive fan, and I think he had to take like the next day off just to recover from all the emotions he was going through. But no, I mean, he's been brilliant for Rafe the past 2 seasons. I think we were adamant we were losing Scott McMahon. Yep. It's still probably the case that we will lose Scott McMahon. So if you're going to lose a player like who's, in my opinion, one of our best players, you need to replace him with a suitable replacement, and by replacing him with the left back of the season for the Championship for last year, then you can't really ask much better than that, especially in Aki's shoes. So no, it was a really good signing. The emotions to the sort of transfer saga added to it, and no, I'm pretty happy with it. I don't know how he's performed in any of the bounce matches or whatnot, but I'm sure we'll see him on Friday, and hopefully he just replicates the sort of form and performances he was doing with Rafe the past 2 seasons.
It does leave us in. Listen, I totally agree, and I think he'll have a great season if he continues that form. It does leave us in a strange position though, where we've technically got 4 left backs at the club. Now that is if we don't lose Scott McMahon, which we haven't at the moment, so we need to take it as that he's not going until he does. It does leave us in a weird position. Scott McMahon, Kieran McDonald, Matthew Shields now, and obviously Kyle Monroe, who can play that position as well. What do you see Brian Rice doing for that? Do you see him just having to interchange between McMahon and McDonald? Do you see him running? They can what he did before, the 3 at the back with the 2 wing backs and having McMahon as a centre back. What do you see him doing?
If McMahon does stay, I don't know what I'd see him doing, but what I would like him to do is perhaps either put Kieran right back and have a left-footed right back, because our options at right back are non-existent in my opinion, and have McMahon left back, or have McDonald left back and push Scott McMahon upwards, up a slot, because we've saw that going forward, he was probably our biggest threat last season, if we're being honest. We had the most crosses, I think the third most crosses in the full league last season. So I think there's different options if McMahon stays. I don't think McMahon will stay, but I certainly wouldn't want to go back to the three centre backs and the wing backs and revert back to how we played in the Premiership, because we should be a more attacking side this season. And I just feel with the three centre backs and the wing backs, that wouldn't be the case.
Yeah, I think it'd be so counterproductive to go back to 3 at the back, or 5 at the back technically, because as David said, we're going to have more of the ball, we're going to be favourites for a lot of the games, we're going to be more attacking, hopefully. Sticking at 5 at the back shows no progression in my eyes. Maybe no confidence, I don't know, but if we don't start with 4 at the back, I'll be very, very disappointed and very surprised. Another player we brought in, Joe Hilton, on a season-long loan from Blackburn. Rumours are he was recommended to us by John Hughes, obviously a very good friend of Brian Rice, because he was on loan with Ross County last season despite not playing a game. David, does Joe Hilton excite you at all? Do you see anything from him this season?
Not too much we can really say about it. I mean, I think I speak for the 3 years where I really don't know anything about the guy. But to answer your question, it does excite me, because we do have a very good record of bringing in goalkeepers, and obviously, especially the last one we brought on loan from the English Championship with Luke Southwood. So I'm hoping that we continue. Maybe Brian Potter's had an influence on that. So hopefully he's had an eye for a good keeper. So like I say, we've nothing really to base it on, but I think it's good that it seems like we've got more competition than we did with Kyle Gourley, because even just looking at the guy physically, he looks more like a goalkeeper and he looks like a big unit. So yeah, I'm quite happy to see how this guy does.
Well, by the sounds of it, Ryan Fulton's going to be out for a few weeks, so he's going to be missing the first few weeks of the season. So by the looks of it, Joe Hilton is our starting goalkeeper for the foreseeable future until he's back fit. So I'm assuming we'll see him on Friday, and hopefully he doesn't have a Fulton. Where was it? Fulton had a mare in the cup, the away game.
Albion Rovers, sorry.
Albion Rovers. Let's just hope he doesn't have an Albion Rovers, man. Last player we brought in is another return, along with Kieran McDonald. Andy Ryan, Chucky, is returned. It's one that seems to split opinion a little bit with the Accies fans. Some looking at it as a player we've signed from League Two. Will he be able to make that jump? And others seen it as, well, it's a guy who scores goals at the lower levels of Scotland, which is something we on this podcast have preached to Accies about. Please raid the lower levels of Scotland, try and find somebody, and they've done it. And it just so happens to be somebody we know. Brandon, Andy Ryan, how is he sitting with you coming in?
I mean, he's injured, isn't he? So
that's true. I've seen for a while.
As we say, we always tend to preach on this about raiding the lower divisions of Scotland. I don't think many fans would have much of grievances if he was brought in, but there was someone else brought in as well, another striker as well. I think the biggest issue Accies fans are having just now is the fact that last season it was our biggest issue was we couldn't score goals. We just couldn't score goals. And we've lost Augie, and our more attacking players are still out the equation just now as well. So the only player we've brought in is Andy Ryan. And I think Chucky's a decent sign. Personally, I think he certainly knows how to score. He might be in League Two, but he knows how to score. He knows the club. He knows the fans well. He knows what it's about. So it's a good signing. But as I said, the grievances that people have got is this motto of whatever it takes sort of thing. I feel the Accies fans don't think that's been replicated at all as of yet, and they're just a bit worried that if we are to be pushing to get back to where we feel that we truly deserve to be, because 10 of the past 14 seasons we've been in the top flight. So we definitely should be back up there. I should certainly be fighting for promotion. I just think when you look at past striking options when we've been in the Championship before, the Mac, Stevie May, Tony Andrew, Jason Scotland, etc. I think that's where people are getting a bit frustrated, is because if we are to sort of push and go for this, then we really need a really good striker. We need someone to score goals, which wasn't the case last season. So I think they were putting their hope in that the club would get someone in like that. I don't think many people have a big issue with Andy Ryan. It's just because somebody else isn't even.
Yeah. They maybe, at the moment it seems as if we're placing our hopes in Andy Ryan.
Yes.
I would agree with everything you said. I'm quite happy Andy Ryan signed again. Impressive goal scoring record in the lower leagues. Can't bash that. But I do agree with what you're saying. We need somebody else. I wouldn't put all my money on Andy Ryan scoring his goals to keep us up. David Moyle's touch and goal. What actually happens with David Moyle? I can't see him scoring many. And then you've got youngsters like Andy Winter, who apparently is also out injured. Callum Smith is another option. I do agree. We need a talisman. We need somebody, not even a big name, just somebody that you can rely on to get you 10, 15 goals in the season, because we just don't get that at Hamilton, not for a long time anyway. David, what are you thinking about Andy Ryan? You happy he's back?
I am. I'm glad that you made the point there that you said we need a talisman, because there's two ways to look at this signing. Now, obviously, as any fan of a club, when you see, for example, like last year in the Championship, Hearts bring guys like Liam Boyce in, a guy that you know is going to deliver goals even in the Premiership. That's just, we know, we've been Accies fans long enough to know that's just not how we do our business. I remember saying to you last season, Ben, that any player we bring in, any player that's going to be a top performing player for Accies in a season, is probably someone we're not going to expect them to be. Now, a perfect example is Hakeem Odoffin. When we bring in an unused right back from Livy, I'm pretty sure no one expected him to be our best midfielder last year. You know what I mean? So Andy Ryan, I think I watched a really good video on YouTube, and I think it's 27 goals that he scores for Airdrie, and every single one of them are like instinct finishes. Not great goals to look at, but the ball drops to him, he takes his touch, or first time, he puts it where he needs to put it. I think that's something that we just haven't had. Now, obviously, we would like to have that at a higher calibre, but I think if we're going to bring in someone that's going to go and score 10, 15 goals, it's someone who's got the potential to do it. And Andy Ryan definitely has that on paper when you look at his spells at Airdrie and at Stirling. I would like to bring someone in. Hopefully, the biggest thing in our favour this season is we're probably more likely to get loan moves for maybe the bottom half of the SPL or even the Old Firm clubs, now that we're not in the same league as them. So hopefully we go down that route. But I think Andy Ryan has got the potential. And I hope that, like I say, I expect us to change the way we're playing. And remember, we still actually do have some really good quality in this team with guys out wide like Lewis Smith and David Templeton. So when I saw the Ryan signing, I thought we get the ball in for the wide areas, get it into the box, and someone who's got the instinct to finish it. And let's hope that it does pay off. Like I say, is any top performing player we have next season will be someone we're probably not expecting. Maybe a bit different this year because we are expecting to do a bit better. And there's a couple of guys we've spoke about who we do think will translate some right quality into that league. But I'm a bit optimistic about this one. I hope it pays off.
Yes. So damn, mate. So damn. As you said there, I am optimistic about the season for the first time in a long time. Just to touch back on signings though, there's three positions that fans are calling out for. Three positions I've seen anyway that fans have pinpointed as absolute necessities. One of them being a striker, which we've already touched on. The next one being a right back, where Brandon, you touched earlier on how you would put Kieran McDonald at right back, because their options at right back are quite thin. I would agree with that. I think Ben Sterling, what we've seen already, doesn't fill you with confidence if you go into a season. George Stanger is playing centre back for New Zealand at the Olympics, so why would we put him at right back? I can see us doing it though, but I don't understand why we would. Can you see the club bringing a right back in? David and I have had this discussion where we don't think they will. I'm interested in your thoughts. Do you think it's a position we need to fill? And do you think we will?
I mean, I certainly think we should be bringing someone in, because it's not. But both the players are not. Both the players we're talking about who are more than likely going to be the right back, that's not their natural positions. So, in my opinion, regardless if that's what your idea is to play them there, or regardless of what we think of their abilities or what we've seen of them so far, because they've been in the championship could be a completely different kettle of fish, and they could perform at a certain level. We don't know, but if we're wanting to be fighting to get back in to the top flight, you need people to be playing in the right positions, and they're no right backs. So, in my opinion, we really need to bring in a right back to fight for the right back position with the players that were apparently going to be playing there this season. But I don't think we will. I don't think that's. We've got a budget to work with, and I don't think that will be part of the budget, or that will be part of the priority within the budget of where we need to go. I think the priority lies both within a striker and now a centre mid.
Now a centre mid, yeah, because if you look at our centre mid options, again, thin options. Hakeem Odoffin, it was announced today as of recording that he's very strongly linked with Hibs. Brian Knights came out, or the club have came out and said no, they want to keep Hakeem Odoffin, but we know the club have said that before, so who knows if it goes ahead. And then you're looking at people like Scott Martin, Regan Mimno, and Ronan Hughes. They're your three centre mids.
And one of them's injured.
And one of them, Scott Martin, as far as we're aware, is out with an injury. So you're going into this game at Edinburgh City with a possible midfield of Mimno, Hughes, and maybe Odoffin if he's here, whatever. We need a centre mid, man, especially after losing Ross Callahan, who was such a big part. I would be surprised if the club don't bring in a centre mid. I really, really would.
I agree with that entirely. I mean, with all the areas that we need, I mean, even going back to the right back thing, I mean, there's what we want as fans and what's just actually feasible. I mean, I agree with Brandon entirely. We need a out-and-out right back whose position is a right back. But at the end of the day, we've got three players on the books that can cover right back. You've got George Stanger, you've got Hakeem Odoffin, and you've got Ben Stirling. When we've got a budget as low as yours, it will all be about utility players. It'll be about moulding players into a new position. So I think that they'll go with Ben Stirling and actually make him a right back and work with him towards being a right back. Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's not the way I want to be going into the season. I would, like I say, I'd much rather have an established right back. But when you look at the two best right backs in this league are considered to be Regan Tumulty at Wraith Rovers and Aaron Comrie at Dunfermline. These are both guys that didn't cut it in the Premiership level, couldn't get a game for their clubs, which were Ross County and St Johnstone. I believe were both moved about in several positions before settling at the right back position, and then a couple of years at this level, and they've really excelled. So, like I say, it's the usual optimism, but it is doable. Centre mid, it's again the way that I see the club will see it is we've got four players that can play in that position. Whether we think they're good enough or not, they're not going to put the money out to get someone else in. I do think.
I disagree. I think the club have realised. Sorry, I had to jump in there because I'm going to stick up for the club. I don't know if it's sticking up for the club as such.
Wait now.
I don't know. Wait. I might have got my words wrong there. I don't know if I'm sticking up for the club. But I think after the bounce matches, the club have realised that we are too thin. That's what I think now. Hopefully, I think that after these bounce matches, they've really realised that they cannot rely so much in all the youth and with the injuries we've got and how thin it is. I think if they want us to be pushing for promotion, and maybe even if they want us to stay in the Championship, then they're going to need to put their money in their pockets. I'm not saying go and break the bank, but to go off with the ideology of whatever it takes, they certainly will need to get their hands in the pockets, because it's too thin.
I have a player in mind.
It's too thin.
I have a player in mind that I think makes perfect sense. And like you say, like Brandon says, if they're saying they'll do whatever it takes, I don't think this is breaking the bank. But I would love to see us go for Harry Cochrane. Now, I understand that him being a free agent, Hearts would be due compensation for training. But the fact that he still hasn't got a club, whatever the figure is, I know that like it did with Lewis Ferguson in Aberdeen, the agreement has to be made, because if the figure that Hearts are demanding is too high and it's preventing him getting a job, this is when like the PFA or the SFA will step in and say, listen, you can't prevent this boy getting a club. This is where you have to negotiate that and come to a lower figure. I think that's the kind of thing that did happen with us and Lewis Ferguson. But I think that's someone who is not the finished article, but is an investment. I think somebody who could do better, because if you remember in one of the earlier podcasts when we're talking about when teams like Wraith Rovers signed Kevin Nisbet, Dunfermline signed Kevin Nisbet for Wraith Rovers, or even somebody like Thomas Robert, someone you know you're going to make your money off eventually. So putting your hand in your pocket, getting somebody like Harry Cochrane, it will pay off, I think. I would rather see him than I understand we were linked with Kyle Turner before he went to Partick Thistle. I personally think Cochrane would be a better player, but I think that's somebody who would fit in really well and definitely improve us.
The boy lives 5 minutes away. I'd be extremely surprised if the club hadn't already inquired about that. And I think the only thing that's putting it off, and listen, I totally agree. I would love Harry Cochrane to sign. I mean, I've not saw him since his Hearts days, and I know that was bare minimum, but he was at a very young age, so I've not saw him when he played with Montrose on loan. But Montrose fans did rave about him. The only thing that must be putting clubs off just now is that fee. Yeah. That's what it must be. And like you said, it's not particularly fair on him, because he's sitting here, a very talented young prospect, and he's not able to fulfill what he's going to be his potential in career because of that fee. So like you said, no, I'd definitely look into him. Listen, a centre mid wasn't a priority for me initially. After taking things back and actually having a proper look at it, centre mid is a fucking priority. Centre mid and a striker, they're definitely the two positions we really need to sign. Right back, yes, I would like it, and I think we do need to sign it. I don't think we will, but it does give me slight confidence. The fact Rice came out today and says he wants 3 to 4 players minimum. I only thought they would have had a striker in mind, but the fact he's came out and said that, hopefully that does come to fruition and we do actually sign these players. I know we've heard it before when they've said, oh, this is what we want, but a lot of people, like I've said on Twitter recently, that it's a difference what Accies say they want and what they actually do. So, I mean, I won't take what you said for gospel as of yet, but hopefully they are looking, and hopefully we do recruit ASAP, because I can just see what's going to happen already if we do have a poor start in this cup campaign. You're going to have, what was it I said? You're going to have what did I call them last season? I didn't say the vultures. What was it I said?
Oh yeah,
the Falcons.
You're going to have all the Falcons coming in. So that's what you're going to get. You're going to get all the people just, oh, for fuck's sake, just been relegated, getting pumped by this team, pumped by that team. Board haven't put their hand in their pocket, blah, blah, blah. And they don't want, I mean, this is meant to be a new chapter, a new era. We want to get off on a good foot. Yeah. And hopefully we do see these signings come in soon.
Yeah, and just to touch back on what you said about Brian Rice, that interested me as well, given that the start of somebody said he's looking for 1 or 2 players. And then after seeing the bounce games, which with the alleged results hasn't gone our way at all, he's suddenly saying he needs 3 or 4. That highlights to me even stronger how weak the squad is. If he's sitting watching it and thinking we need more, do you know what I mean? That highlights it even more for me. We look ahead to the season though, before we touch on Edinburgh City. I would like to get your season predictions, and at the end of the season, we can cut back to this and see how well we did. I personally predict Accies to be in and around the playoffs. I don't expect us to get automatic promotion as the big thing. I do expect us to be... I know it's 4th place is the last spot for the playoffs. I would expect us to be around about 4th or 5th. Playoffs is a success. 5th is disappointing, but I wouldn't lose my head over it. I think it's a really, really big season for Brian Rice. As Brandon said, if he starts off slow and he starts off poorly, as Accies have done in the Premiership, the Falcons will be swooping in, and especially with fans being back now, this is not a case of keyboard warriors or people behind the screen. We will be there in the stadium, and he will hear our thoughts if he starts poorly. It's also a big season for fringe players, as we touched on briefly on Sterling, Hughes, Mimno are the names I've got noted, but many more to fight for a place and get in the first team. So my prediction is 4th or 5th place. No promotion though. David, we'll go to you next.
I think 3rd place. I think that, I think Kelly will win the league. Now, going by the signings they've made, I don't think by any means they're going to run away with the league. But I think that the difference between them and us and maybe any other club in the league is that they'll reflect in January. And if they need to put their hand in their pocket and get what needs to push them over the line, they will. The big thing was Kyle Lafferty. He's the one that gave them their fighting chance last year. What was it, 12 goals? I think they're the only team in the league that can make that kind of move and spend that kind of money. And I think that's what will be the big difference. I think that a surprise package could be Inverness this season. Just when you look at their options in the final third, like you've got Michael Gardine, Billy Mackay, Aaron Doran, you've got Manny Duku and Billy Mackay. I mean, something I've said a few times
Billy Mackay's fuck me.
Oh, is it? Sorry. The thing that I've said is that over the last few years, I feel like the calibre of player in the Championship isn't what it was previously. And I think the reason for that is anybody with half a calibre will be getting mega money elsewhere, maybe down south, especially in the striking positions. And I think if you to look at the strikers in the league at the moment, there might not be many that you could safely predict will get double-figure goals, but Billy Mackay definitely will. And don't get me wrong, the only reason he'll be at Inverness is the same reason as Gardine is they live in the area.
Yep.
And it's probably an easy option for them, but I think they'll do quite well. I do think that we've said a few times, some of the players we've got, like for example, if we keep Hakeem Odoffin, he'll be one of the best players in that league. I think Lewis Smith has got the potential to really stand out. Another player is when you look and see that Charlie Adam and the age and condition that he is, was the player of the season last year. If we keep him fit, there's no reason why Templeton can't fill that as well. I think some of our guys like Regan Mimno, I think we talk about guys like Harry Cochrane and Kyle Turner. I think at this level he could really go on a step further. So I think we'll have a good season. I think 3rd place. I'd be over the moon with 3rd place. I don't think we've got everything ready to kick on to do any higher at the moment. But I think things will get better during the season as well. But it's like we've touched on this first game of the season on Friday at Edinburgh City. I think that's massive already. Even though we're missing a lot of players by the looks of it, it's just all about having the fans on board. And if we lose this game, it's just putting us back a couple of steps already. So I think that's a huge game. But yeah.
I do want to push you though. You said 3rd place, which means playoff.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing in the playoff?
I don't think we've got enough. It's hard to judge this now. I don't think we would have enough to go up via the playoffs. Like I say, when we did that last time, we had a much more established team. I think we've got a couple of areas where we really need players to step up in. and especially the striking role. So I don't think we would get promoted, but I think a third place finish I'd be happy with.
Good. And Brandon?
As it currently stands,
I'm scared to answer, but yes, as it currently stands.
well, we don't know what's going to happen injury-wise as well. I mean, if we get all our players back fit, which touchwood does happen, but we saw what happened last season with injuries. Do you know what I mean? So, as it stands, fifth.
Fifth. Again, happy with that, to be honest.
And runners-up of the Challenge Cup.
But we could get, I think it's a broth. Basically, the best, the hardest team we could get in the third round would be our broth, because they've got a couple of B teams to beat. And then if we beat our broth, then in the quarterfinals.
And as David touched on there, the game on Friday against Edinburgh City is huge. Do you know what I mean? It's how we start this new chapter that we keep talking about. And if we start off on the wrong foot, if we start off by losing that game, especially with the 100, 150 Accies fans that are going to the game, it's just going to I think it's going to turn all the positivity we've seen on social media and that over the last few weeks from majority of Accies fans a little bit sour. You know, they'll think that there hasn't been a change. You know, we always start poorly in the Premiership. We're always underprepared. And if we lose that game, people are going to say the same things. It doesn't get MD off to a good start. So win that game is massive. Lose that game, I'm worried. I'm worried about the fan reaction from it. It'll be good. It'll be good to go to a game. First live game in 18 months for a lot of folk. And like I said, there'll be about 150 Accies fans, so we've sold it out. So it's going to be good to be back seeing everybody and seeing live football. Despite the result, that'll be a positive, but let's hope for a win.
I know, getting to see our club for the first time in 18 months, actually in person, it's got to be amazing. Hopefully it's going to be amazing. But like you says, you can already see the sour note on it already. You can already see what's written in the sort of stars thing. It's, as you touched on, fans are constantly mentioning how we're so ill prepared for the season coming ahead, and you can see that a lot of fans are feeling that that's the exact same way for this season because they've not recruited in the way they wanted, and they think that we should recruit. And I tend to slightly agree with them in certain positions. Yeah, we have made some good signings with Kieran McDonald, and we have sort of signed Andy Ryan, which is a good signing. But if we want to do whatever it takes as such, then to go through with that motto, there needs to be more.
Yep.
And I just feel because people have latched onto the apparent bounce match results, they don't really know the logic behind it or the reasons behind it, because there's apparently so many players out injured. So our first team isn't particularly out.
Yeah.
But that would then mean the first team's not going to be out against Edinburgh City. So regardless, we're ill prepared.
Yeah,
So
the bounce games are a weird one because you obviously look at the results and you think, you know, losing 4-0, 5-0 to Dundee, getting beat off Clyde, and then drawing with, who was it we drew with?
Queen's Park.
Drew with Queen's Park. It's not great reading. It really isn't. And as you said, there are players out injured, but even at that, the 11 you could make of the players not injured should beat these teams, or at least challenge them, at least, you know, put up a bit of a game. But at the same time, they're bounce games. They're there really to get shape and to get fitness and to, you know, see who fits in, who worked well together. It's not so much about the result, but I can totally understand why fans are saying that, because when I see the results as well, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm going, Dundee, man. Imagine getting past 5-0 Dundee pre-season. Imagine losing to Clyde pre-season. You do think that as a fan, it's just natural. But we do need to remember that for fitness and they're for shape and things like that. So I don't latch too much onto them. But obviously winning them gives the players and the staff and the fans confidence in the team going into competitive.
It's just really important that we win this on Friday.
Absolutely.
It needs to go off to a good start, or the Falcons are going to be swooping in already. And they don't want that. This meant to be a new chapter, a new era. They want it to be as positive as possible. So it's just we really need to win. I think good news that Lewis Smith's back, because I think he'll be massive for us this season. So a lot of our hopes is going to be in Lewis Smith on Friday, I think. But I'm quietly confident for Friday. Although the results in the bounce matches haven't been particularly well, and we might have quite a lot of our squad out injured, and it's pretty thin, I'm quietly confident.
Yeah, I'm kind of weirdly confident as well. I do think we'll win. I'm going to put it out there that I do think we'll win. And as you said, I think we will be hanging a lot of our hopes, not only in this game but on this season, on Lewis Smith. If he can stay fit, he's going to be a big, big player. Already very talented, as we've seen. Put him in at a lower level. I reckon he'll be brilliant. I reckon he'll be one of the players of the season. I really honestly do if he stays fit. David, you're going to the game as well on Friday. You're looking forward to it. How do you see it going?
I'm absolutely buzzing for the game. Like you both said, I mean, it's been too long. I'll probably bust out greeting when they come out the tunnel, but it's whether or not I'm greeting when they go back in the tunnel. Is what I'm worried about. Because I honestly don't think we'll win it. I don't know why. I'm because it's not like me to be negative, but I really don't see us winning this. Just with the injuries are concerning. Like I say, the bounce games I know not to look into too much. When you told me that Lewis Smith should be involved in some capacity, that gave me a bit of confidence because I think he's genuinely the only like real player of quality that will be there. But I hope I'm wrong. For some reason, I just can't see us winning. But like I say, hopefully we've changed the way we play. We've learned our lessons against lower league teams as well. Because we can't forget, this is a team we beat 5-0, 2 years ago. We're a better team. We will be doing better than them this season. You just don't want to be making headlines for the wrong reasons on your first game back. So hopefully they really get their act together and go for it. But I'm not confident at the moment at all.
Yeah, it is worth noting that all three of us will be at the game, and it feels really good to say this. We will be outside the ground after the game if you want to come and talk to us and give us your opinions on the match. It's going to be nice. Socially distance, but it is going to be nice to be able to get in and speak to fans again. That's going to be a good touch. Bit of news for us, bit of news on OnlyAccies. It's big news, and I can't lie, you probably see it in my face, very excited for it. We have been granted, OnlyAccies have been granted media accreditation for the season. So basically what that means is we get press passes for the home games. And that means really for you guys, it's a great thing because it gives us access to press conferences before, after games and midweek. It gives us access to player and staff interviews if we request them, and it gives us the opportunity to bring you guys more exclusive content, the kind of content that we have been preaching about for so long. This has given us the opportunity to do that ourselves, which is massive. And as you've probably already seen on Twitter, we'll get to the Shaun Want interview soon. That's the kind of stuff that hopefully will be happening a lot going forward. Which is massive, and we're very, very excited about it. Worth noting that fan reactions and podcasts will continue to be the same. The reason this channel was made was to interview fans and get their opinions. I don't want to lose that on the channel. So things like this podcast will remain the same, and fan reactions after games will remain the same. We want to keep honest and real. So even though we've got this media pass, the club said they want us to continue doing what we're doing exactly as it is. So nothing will change from us. Don't worry about that. And finally, we're also discussing the possibility, or we're discussing the opportunity to do live podcasts after the game in the bar. The club, from the sound of it, plan to open the bar before and after the games, drinks, food, and stuff like that. And we're discussing with them us going in there with guests, players, staff, other fans to just sit and talk about the game, talk about the club. And hopefully people would be interested to come in and sit and take part. That's what we're after at the end of the day. And hopefully for people who do go into the bar afterwards, it's a little bit entertainment for them, which is something we're very excited about it as well. Brandon, I know you're buzzing. I know you're
it'll be really good. I'm looking forward to actually being a part of it, if I'm being honest with you. we've been crying out for, obviously it's good for me being involved, but it's good for people watching it as well, because if I was in other shoes, I'd be crying out for Aki's content. Do you know what I mean? Which we've not really had much of as of recently. So we really do appreciate the club giving us this sort of access, and that's not going to change how we speak, how we voice. That's not going to just change us to sort of changing how happy clappers, if you want to call it that, or changing our agenda as such. Everything's going to be the same. But the content's just going to be even better. Hopefully the Accies fans appreciate that and enjoy it, should I say? Because we're going to sort of bring out content that's relatable to like sort of actual TV shows, like your Soccer AMs, your View for the Terrorists, sort of actual proper pre-match shows where the content is at a certain level where hopefully people do enjoy it and get involved in. It's not just going to be us doing it. We're looking for fans to get involved in this content as well. We'll be getting contact with old players, current players, even fans of different clubs as well. So it sounds like it's going to be a really good thing. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to being a part of it, and hopefully we can provide the content that people want to see. And that's what we'll ask: what type of content you want to see. Just let us know, and we'll obviously try and implement that in as much podcasts, shows, or any content we produce, really.
Yeah, because all the pre-match stuff is going to be really exciting, you know. What we're kind of aiming for at the moment is to get former players on, other fans on to discuss the game, hand off to the stream for you guys to watch the game, and then come back to us afterwards for your normal match reviews. You know, that's the very simple basis of it. But as Brandon,
very interactive as well. But it's not just going to be basic interviews with other players and old players and fans. There's going to be content that's Accies related that you've probably never seen before, that you've saw other clubs doing, and you've saw on other sort of platforms that are quite fun and funny and just enjoyable to watch, regardless of how you support. And the fact that it's got, you'll be able to relate to it because it's Accies orientated. Hopefully that'll make it enjoyable for the fans.
And so to give you guys a little bit of a teaser of what the kind of content you can expect to see, we're going to hand over now to our interview with Shaun Want. We got a chance to speak to him about the championship coming up, his own injury problems that he's had to face. We touched on the relegation last season, and then we managed to ask him a few questions that Accies players don't normally get asked, which is very exciting. So I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. Let us know what you thought of it in the comment section down below. As always, any feedback, any content suggestions for pre-match, post-match, please let us know in the comments, or you can go on our socials, linked in the description. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon. Shaun, thanks a lot for taking the time to speak to us, mate. We appreciate it. You yourself have been out for a while now. How's that kind of process been? Where are you in terms of your recovery? Is that you kind of back good to go?
Yeah, well, that's been since October, so that's been about 8 months now. It was a long road. Had a few setbacks on the way, which wasn't ideal. Came back and it kind of happened again, set me back, and obviously watching the games last season, knowing I had kind of have an effect on it was pretty tough, especially after I thought I had a good start to the season. I was playing every week and I was happy with that, and I wanted to cement a place there, and then that injury happened. Unfortunately, that's football, and now over the summer I had 2 weeks off because I was in majority of the summer to get myself back fit. So the aim was to be back for pre-season, so that's me back and running now, and hopefully, touch wood, that'll be me fitness and injury free for this season.
Perfect, that's kind of what we're after. And just to touch on briefly there last season, it was frustrating for us. It must have been frustrating for the players and staff, especially for those, because we had an injury list a mile long. How frustrating was that for you guys sitting at the sidelines watching and not being able to kind of help?
It's hard enough being injured as it is, and I think especially during the times it was COVID as well, so some games we couldn't even come and watch, so some games we'd be sitting in the house watching it in the stream.
Turning it off.
And then obviously it was freezing sometimes, stuff like that, and just like, personally for me, just like watching and knowing that you can't make an effect, or just can't make an impact in the team, and at points when we were struggling, and we had so many people injured, and boys were running out of steam, and we couldn't have anybody else to come in and replace them because we had so many injuries. So I think everybody who was injured would agree, and there was a lot of players out for a long time as well. It was one thing after another. Seems last season with injuries.
Personal for you, it must have been the most frustrating was, like you said, you were playing so well at the start of the season. You had cemented your place. I think one of my pals actually says you were our best chance for a Scotland Cup.
I think I've seen that too. What's it been steaming there?
So I think that's obviously added to the frustrations, and I imagine because it was probably one of your best runs at the start of the season, and you just get that setback. It must be tough.
The season before that I started to play as well, and then COVID hit, and that was when I think I played the last 8 games before COVID, and that was when I was just starting to get my rhythm playing every week, and then obviously the season shut down. Then I thought, fresh season, that'll be my chance, and then I think it was 10 games in that happened. Then I thought at first we didn't think it was as serious, just thought, and then I tried to come back, and then I think it was maybe too soon, or I just wasn't right, and then it happened twice. So it was tough, but mentally you just need to stay strong. And there was a lot of people injured as well, as if I was in the gym myself, because I had nearly a full squad in the gym. So there was people at the club to help you get through it. But it's been a long 8 months, but I'm glad to be back now.
Good, we're glad to have you back. And looking ahead to the cup games, Brian Rice has said before, and we've said in the podcast many times, cup competitions and Accies just don't seem to go together. We can't seem to put it together. We are frustrated by it. I'm sure you guys are frustrated by it as well. What are you expecting this year from the cup? Is a cup run a goal for you guys, or is it full focus on the league?
I think you've got to look at both. Obviously your main focus in the league, and you want to get back up into Premiership where everybody down there feels we belong, but I think at the same time, like, cup games are just as important as league games. You don't look at it as if rest players, or it's just like a weekend off. I think there's nothing better than to go in a cup run, and there's a few cups when you're in the Championship, you're in an extra cup, so it's an extra chance for everybody to get in a cup run. There's nothing better if you could go away and get to a final, even for not just us but for the fans and their family as well, to come watch the cup run would be brilliant.
I mean, we're going on Friday in the way end, we should probably state, and we were all buzzing for it. It's sold out now. I don't know if you know that. It's sold out by Accies fans basically. We've kind of overtaken it, which is really exciting. And not to put any disrespect in Edinburgh City, but they're a team that we should be looking to beat comfortably. We did do that at New Douglas Park. But what kind of games are you expecting to get on Friday? Expecting the same as before, or are you expecting a tougher challenge?
I think when you look back at the last years, you've got Annan were in that league, and you've got, was it Stranraer last season? When you go to these teams and play them, like other players, it's like a cup final for them. It's like, say when Celtic and Rangers come play us, when you play so you would say a bigger club, every player there's right up for it, so you can't go into the game thinking, oh, this has got to be a stroll, because if you go into that, I think, with that attitude, then you're going to have the results like we've had before. So I think everybody needs to realise that it's not just going to be an easy game. It'll be need to treat it like any other game we'd play in. So
Has the approach been different then to this one? Because obviously that was sort of the Annan and Stranraer was sort of Brian Rice's sort of first taste of defeat to these sort of clubs. So has his approach been kind of different?
Well, the gaffers, for the first day that we come in, he always says, even when we're playing friendlies, we don't treat it like a friendly. And I think after with the cup run last year with the games against Annan, he's made it sure and clear that even when the new boys come in, that we can't afford to, like, as you say, like, drop gear when we're playing these teams. It's important that we need to, like, and especially if we want to start a good cup run, it will start steady into the season. Hopefully we just keep that run going. So I think everybody will, especially me being here, I've been here for a long time now, and I know what it's been like in the cup, so I know, but I think it's the gaffer's been letting everybody else know, like, how important it is to get that start in the cup.
That's good. I mean, as I said, all the fans are going. We're buzzing. First time we've been in 18 months to a live game. How big of a boost is that going to be for the players to have like 200 Accies fans?
Even like some games you were playing, say, I know we were going to Parkhead and Ibrox, and people say they'd rather play in an empty stadium, but I personally think no matter where I play, I'd love fans. Like, even if it's fans abusing me, or it's like away fans, like, say, going to, I'd say Tynecastle. Like, I think that's one of my favourite places to play. I think the fans just gives you that bit of extra, like, motivation, that adrenaline when you're playing. I think you can tell the difference. Even, I don't know if you're watching it, but I feel that there's a difference when you're playing with fans. It
just shows you, I think, obviously people compare us to sort of cockroachy Scottish football quite often, and it's took the season, even though we might have the Littles fans, it's took the season when there's been no fans at all to actually. So it shows you it doesn't matter how many fans there are, it clearly has had an effect on us.
For example, for us, say if we're chasing a game the last 10 minutes or something and people are running out of steam, see if we've got fans like at the side, like, here screaming and shouting, like, that gives you like extra 10% for the last 10 minutes, and that's maybe sometimes a few years ago, like, when we was fans, we would sneak a goal the last 10 minutes, and maybe this year we just kind of ran out of steam and it just didn't work for us.
I'm looking ahead to the Championship. What has Brian Rice's message been this season? Is it promotion or going straight back up?
I think promotion, I think every player would agree if the gaffer turned around and said we want to stay in the Championship, and the players would disagree as well, but the gaffer and all the players and all the staff, we're all aware that we want to get back up, and we all believe that we belong in the Premiership. I think we're good enough to play there, so, but I think what everybody knows as well, it's not going to be easy either, because the Championship's not an easy league, and when you look at teams in there and the players there, they're all strengthened this season as well, so it's not going to be easy, but for me and for most of our players and the gaffer, we want to go straight back up Premiership, because that's what everybody wants to play.
Do you think on a personal note, obviously you've came through the youth ranks and you've been sort of thrown in the deep end as such by playing in the Premier League?
The Premiership, first team football, do you think coming back down a level where maybe your McCarthy's, your MacArthur's, Eastons, etc., they all played the Championship initially, and that's what sort of helped them progress? Do you think that might benefit yourself playing the Championship for a season?
Look at it that way, and get as many games as I could as well, and then you're playing against different players and that, so obviously, and hopefully this year we could have more of the ball and control games more, whereas last season or when I've played, when you go to places like Hibs, Hearts, Rangers, Celtic, you're more sitting in, so it could be a different experience for me, which I think could help my game in a different aspect, because I'm not normally used to that, so when you look at that, I think it could benefit, not just me, a lot of players there as well. So.
And it's a rare occasion for Accies. We're going into a season not as favourites for relegation, and one of the favourites to win. What is that like in the squad? Has that changed, like the mentality and the players, to know that we're going to be going into most games, as you said, as favourites, as having more of the ball and being more attacking?
Well, hopefully it is quite refreshing when you we're going into games now. We're not going to be thinking, when you come up against Celtic, keep yourself in the game. Every game we're going into this year, we'll be looking to win. And I think that's the way we'll be set up, to go and press teams and get at them and get the 3 points. And I think that's when you start enjoying your football as well, when you're getting 3 points. You're not going home every weekend depressed and upbeat about your performance and result. And I think that when you start getting a rhythm and start winning every week, it becomes a habit, and it's something that everybody's looking forward to.
Are you enjoying that pressure? Is it added extra pressure, perhaps? Can it be the favourites?
I think when you play for Hamilton, especially when you play, you're always under pressure. So for me, I think it's not any added pressure, because even when we played in no matter what league or what team you play at, you've always got pressure to perform, because you've got a lot of players there that can come take a position, and you're playing in front of fans and managers, so you need to impress. So no, for me, it's not added pressure.
Obviously this season we've brought in a few new players. Obviously we got Chucky, Kieran McDonald, some old players. We've brought in Joe and Matthew Shields for Rangers. How have they fitted in? Are they looking alright?
Yeah, and obviously I've known Mac and Chucky for years as well, so I think it was easy for them to they know what the Hamilton's like and what the philosophy is here, so it wasn't anything new for them, so nothing's really changed for them. But you look at Shields as well, he's just come back from injury, but I think all the additions that we've added so far has been good, and we're all bedding in well.
We're going to put you under pressure and ask you a season prediction. Where do you think Accies will finish?
Minimum top 3.
Minimum top 3? I like it.
Van Dijk or Vidic?
Van Dijk.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Chinese or Indian?
Chinese.
Warzone or FIFA?
Warzone.
Love Island or the Euros?
Euros.
I don't know about that.
Depends what game's on.
Who's won the Euros?
Italy.
Take a Fulton goal kick to the face or 1 round with Hakim?
1 round with Hakim.
Kim K or Ariana Grande?
Kim K.
Sunshak or Tan Unique?
Sunshine.
Vinny or Brophy?
Brophy.
Ooh, can you get a sponsorship with Sunshack? Why not? Can you get a sponsorship deal? They could sponsor your jersey. Why not?
Current and former, longest in the shower?
Chucky.
Fastest?
Scott McMahon.
Scott McMahon? That's an interesting one.
In fact, I might have lied there, mate. Fastest. Current, or it can be
MD like
Since your time here?
Rakesh.
Rakesh, quick. Who was the best trainer?
Best trainer. Daz McKinnon always gave it 100%. I would say him. He would just treat training like games. Non-stop.
Aye.
Most skillful?
Boydie.
Interesting.
Or Mikel.
Mikel.
Aye.
Who's your dressing room DJ at the moment?
Me.
Is it you?
Aye.
Is it? What kind of stuff you put on?
Bit of GBX, DJ Vance, that's what I'm into.
I like that. What's your WhatsApp group name? Please say it's changed.
No, it's Hamilton Boys.
Mate.
I don't know if we've changed it to 21 yet. I don't know.
That's even worse.
I think it might still be 2021. No, I think we changed it to this. Changed it when we're in logs, aye.
You need to go in and update it.
Don't know what else to put. I'm admin as well.
you need to step up there and start doing it.
Worst dressed, both current and former.
Former, I would say Marcus Fjortov. Current, I would say Keir McDonald.
If you had to pick 3 of your football friends to go on a night out with, who would it be?
Friends. Keir McDonald, Scott Martin, and Ronan Hughes.
Worst player you've played with at Accies?
Richard Roy.
Funnily enough, if you were to give us one word to describe the following players, Richard Roy.
Shaka.
Scott Martin.
Brother.
Eamon Brophy.
I don't know what else to say in this actually. Eamon Brophy, Fick.
Aaron McGowan.
Chubby.
George
Snake.
Saris.
Georges Harris.
Snake. We'll make sure and put that on Twitter. We'll put that on Twitter, make sure he sees that one.
Georges Harris. Hair. So much. He'd just
Hair?
shave all the time.
Hair?
He would shave and it'll just be hair all over the sink every day.